Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. I've got two stories to share with you in this latest Moon Family Sedan room temperature jam. I'll be starting with this one from the Crypto Basic. XRP community attorney explains what is stopping Ripple from releasing Hinman's documents. And of course, they're referencing none other than attorney John Deaton. I also have a brand spanking new update for you on what's happening with that little butt nugget with a fro, Sam Bankman-Fried. And I'll tell you this at the outset before getting into all the specifics. He's coming to the United States, and he's in big trouble, and he might be in prison for the rest of his life, ultimately. We'll see. But there's that, and then there's additional news about other top executives that had a hand in this, including Caroline Ellison, who was the CEO of Alameda, which was, basically you call it the sister company of FTX. It's almost entirely owned by SBF himself. And then there's also Gary Wang, who is a co-founder of FTX, and they're working with prosecutors in this case, and that's official. There's been speculation over the last week and a half or so in particular, and it's certainly official. And they're in serious trouble too. But looks like since they're working together with prosecutors, they've worked out some sort of deal where they're just going to absolutely nail Sam Bankman-Fried. So share with you the latest. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. With Ripple announcing in October that the SEC has handed over the drafts of William Hinman's 2018 controversial speech, that's of course the Ethereum free pass speech, XRP community members have patiently waited for the blockchain company to release the documents. However, Ripple has not yet released the document despite owning the drafts of Hinman's 2018 speech for nearly 2 months. The delay has stirred up reactions from XRP enthusiasts eager to know what prevents Ripple from releasing Hinman's documents. And then they note that the digital asset investor, of course, my fellow XRP YouTuber, called on XRP community attorney John Deaton to update enthusiasts on why the blockchain company is stalling the release of Hinman's documents. And he said, quote, "Hey, John Deaton, can we get an update on this? So Ripple has the documents. What is preventing them from being released? At the SEC's insistence. Why are they in a position to insist anything? To me, this is everything." Well, I'll pause a note here. It's important to us as XRP holders. We're all going to agree on that. It's just the complete uneven distribution of justice here is very clear. And the favoritism and all that. And I can only imagine what would be in there, anything that may potentially specifically pertain to XRP. We don't know. We just know that Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse said that the content in there is shocking. So, of course, we all care about that. But as it pertains to the SEC v. Ripple case, it's not even close to everything. So I just have to respectfully disagree if that's what DAI meant on that. These are not particularly consequential unless you get to the a part of the trial, or not a part of the trial. If in the conclusion, what Judge Torres' conclusion she comes to is that there's something pertaining to Ripple's fair notice defense. That means that there's some seriously bad stuff. The S word will have hit the fan at that point, because as I've explained before in previous videos, I don't really want to re-explain it in this video, but the fair notice defense is basically an insurance policy. And that's where something like this could come into play here. So it's not everything. It's more like if things go horrifically wrong, then these are relevant. But if you mean separately, just because we feel like there's been completely ridiculous levels of just corruption at the SEC and favoritism, picking one loser. In that sense, yeah, if somebody says to me this is everything, I can understand why. But I'm just saying, as it pertains to the court case, it's not. But if on a personal level, that makes all the sense in the world. To me, it matters tremendously too, because I'm disgusted just like everybody else is by what's been going on here. Now, Attorney Deaton did respond to DAI, and he wrote the following. There's a protective order in place between the parties. When one side marks something confidential, the other side cannot disclose or release them. If you do, you are in violation of the court's protective order. We see them if the SEC agrees or the court orders them unsealed. So if there's ultimately not going to be settlement, and it's in each passing day, it seems less likely that there would be settlement. If there's no settlement, then I suspect we're going to see these emails at some point. And so they'll be shocking, but the SEC must think if they're going to let the public see this, even though it's shocking, maybe they're hoping that most people won't be aware. It's like you and I, people like us that are interested in the know. Yeah, we're going to know, we're going to care. Maybe they're counting on the typical everyday Joe Schmo out there never even being aware of this. Perhaps that's part of what they're considering. And perhaps there's not something that's quite as bad as what we were all supposing was in there in terms of specifically XRP. So as it pertains to XRP and how that would apply to this court case, doesn't mean there wouldn't be horrifically disgusting stuff in there, because again, like I said a second ago, Brad Garlinghouse said there's shocking stuff in here. I'm willing to believe that. Why wouldn't I believe that? I'm just saying as it pertains to this case, maybe there wasn't quite the smoking gun that we thought there was, perhaps. I mean, they don't seem to be settling. I mean, fine, we could wake up one day and it just happens, but it's just, like I said, every day that passes, less confident that's going to occur. Now into this next topic, and the latest news has all occurred within the last few hours, or last several hours. So earlier in the day, there was this headline. I don't even need to read the article at this point because I've got fresher stuff, but this is what's been discussed. There's this from Cointelegraph. Sam Bankman-Fried is on the way to airport for extradition report. Well, we got even greater updates beyond that. It is true that Sam Bankman-Fried is in the custody of the FBI and is on his way to New York to face charges. But take a look at this first. Look at this headline from Cointelegraph. This is from 4 hours ago. Breaking: Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang plead guilty to fraud charges. They pled guilty already, folks. This looks like it's just part of a deal so that hopefully hopefully for them anyway, they'd get lighter sentences by throwing SBF under the bus. That's exactly what this looks like. Now again, Caroline Ellison, she was the CEO of Alameda, the sister company of FTX, which was mostly owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. And then there's Gary Wang, who is a co-founder of FTX. Piece reads as follows. Former Alameda research CEO Caroline Ellison and FTX co-founder Gary Wang have pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges and are cooperating in the Justice Department's investigation of the former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried. And so I will pause to note that we've known, again, for maybe the last week and a half or so, that something like this was probable. There was a photograph taken of Caroline Ellison buying a coffee somewhere in New York. Somebody just recognized her, took the picture, and then it circulated heavily on social news. Like, well, what's she doing there? Because before, there were stories of she was in Dubai and or Hong Kong or something like that, but then suddenly she's being pictured in New York. And so we're thinking, well, if that's where you are, might you be working out some sort of deal, which is perfectly reasonable speculation. And it looks like that's indeed what has been happening here. And so ended up pleading guilty for a sweetheart deal, effectively. That's what it looks like anyway. Anyway, piece continues. United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, or SDNY for short, Damian Williams, made the announcement on December 21st. They wrote 22nd here, but at the time I'm recording, they wrote that wrong. Because it was several hours ago, so it was the 21st still, so that's a mistake from Cointelegraph. I just caught it now. Anyway, emphasizing that this latest major development is unlikely to be the last. As I said last week, this investigation is ongoing and moving very quickly. I also said last week's... I lost my spot. As I also said, last week's announcement would not be our last, and let me be clear once again, neither is today's. I'm announcing that Southern District of New York has filed charges against Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang in connection with their roles in the frauds that contributed to FTX's collapse. Both Miss Ellison and Mr. Wang have pled guilty to those charges, and both are cooperating with the Southern District of New York. End quote. Williams also confirmed that SBF is now in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and is on his way back to the United States, where he will be transported directly to the Southern District of New York to appear before a judge as soon as possible. And it's worth noting here, in case you hadn't heard this, SBF was intensely fighting extradition to the United States until his bail was denied in the Bahamas, and he was sent to this very harsh prison where there's reports of abuse and this and that, and maybe he didn't feel like it was particularly safe there. on top of horrendous conditions. There are reports of, maggot infestations and, no plumbing, so you get a bucket, if you know what I'm getting at, and no mattress, stuff like that. And then you're in a tiny cell with, 5 other adult men. And so it looks like that caused him to change his tune. He was counting on being able to get bail, and presumably he would have been able to hang out at his penthouse in the meantime. If he still I can't remember if he still has that, actually. I know it was up for sale at one point. I actually don't recall the status. But either way, the point is he was hoping to have been out on bail, but judge denied that. So once he's like, well, don't want to stay here, because he was actually, the next court hearing would have been February, I think it was February 8th of next year. But since he was, willing to change his tune on this, he got a court hearing on the 19th. And now we know the end result is he's coming to the United States. FBI's got him. He's willing to be extradited, and he could end up in prison for a very, very long time. Peace continues. Williams also used the statement to send a stark warning to anyone that may have participated in misconduct at FTX or Alameda. Quote, "Now is the time to get ahead of it. We are moving quickly, and our patience is not eternal," end quote. So I wonder who else is going to end up getting in trouble, but I have a feeling that it's just probably not only these 3 humans that were aware and participating in all of this illegal Ponzi scam activity here. And so Attorney Hogan shared the video clip of Williams stating all those things that I just shared with you, and Attorney Hogan wrote the following. Allow me to translate. Caroline and Gary have taken a deal and are ratting out SBF so hard that he caught the plague from 1,000 miles away. You gotta love that. I love the way that Attorney Hogan puts stuff. Then there was this from Ben Armstrong, aka BitBoy Crypto. He wrote, Caroline and Gary Wang are getting 3 to 6 years in return for totally flipping and blaming the entire FTX/Alameda debacle on Sam and Sam alone. 3 to 6 year plea deal that makes Sam out to be basically the devil himself. I did say this, am I right? Legitimate chance SBF gets life sentence. I wouldn't mind seeing that. He's destroyed lives the world over, completely wrecking people. I'd see no remorse in whatsoever. He's still clearly lying. In the lead up to this, he's just putting out, he's going to have a bogus defense, very obvious. And so it's what it is here. Now, as far as the 3 to 6 years for jumping on the bandwagon of just blaming it all on SBF, I saw multiple sources citing this. I'm not 100% sure if that's a concrete fact at this point. It might be, and I maybe just didn't see the concreteness of it. But I've seen that from a ton of sources before recording this video. So I just thought I'd mention that. That may very well be the case. I'm just like 100% sure at the time I'm recording this. But either way, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to speculate. Whatever the number is, Caroline and Gary, sweetheart deals. It would be a reasonable expectation. Just for coming forward and going after the head honcho here, Sam Bankman-Fried, is what it is. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.